Hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing pretty good myself. Yeah, so, um, oh, I was about to cut out. Yeah, so, some new stuff has been coming up as of late. Um, First and foremost, there are two things I want to bring up. One that isn't quite related to PlayStation Home, but I'd still like to make a little bit of a I don't know what the right word for it is. A little bit of a heads up, I guess. So first things first. This does have something to do with it. This right here. But this right here, PlayStation Experience. So, if you're not aware, PlayStation Experience was a live event that PlayStation used to do from 2002 to 2018. And they since have been on a hiatus, but there's reason to suspect that they will be bringing it back. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why is that important? Well, here's the thing. It's been rumored for a while, although these rumors kind of come up and then go away and then they come up again. So it could happen, but it also couldn't happen. But the thing is, you're probably wondering, well, wait, all this stuff is from 2021. What are you getting at? Well, take a look at this. Yeah, so, not this, this. So, this just came up a few days ago on the 18th. This is a notice of allowance. Basically, it means that, this follows an opposition period. And what happens is, after an opposition period is passed, a few weeks must pass for either a notice of allowance or a registration to be placed into effect. A notice of allowance, if I look it up, right? Yeah. So basically, what this means is the trademark isn't fully registered yet, but the USPTO is allowing the proprietor to use it, and they must have a legitimate reason. So, for example, since we're talking about PlayStation Experience, which it is literally a showcase, it's the PlayStation Showcase, but under a different name. That's part of the reason why we haven't had a showcase yet. Other than the other reason, Microsoft, you might as well stop trying. I'll get to that in a moment, even though it still has nothing to do with PlayStation Home and the other stuff I'm going to talk about. But basically, if you want to know why I'm bringing up Microsoft, so if you're not in the know, it's been known for a while now that Activision and Blizzard are... You better not cut out. Okay. What I was trying to say, sorry about me repeatedly saying please don't cut out. So essentially, Microsoft is attempting to acquire Activision and Blizzard. The thing is, though, this deal could possibly fall apart. The reason being is because of the fact that there's reason to suspect that should this deal go through and they acquire them, Microsoft did say that they will try and keep Call of Duty on other platforms. But here's the thing. They also said that about Bethesda when they were in the process of acquiring them. Now, you're probably wondering... You're probably wondering, why is that important? After Bethesda was acquired by Microsoft, it became readily apparent that any new games, and this also includes any new games in existing franchises like Elder Scrolls or Fallout or anything like that, those would be exclusive to PC and Xbox. The problem with this Activision and Blizzard acquisition is that what Microsoft said prior to acquiring Bethesda, sorry about that, Bethesda, was that they will honor any contractual agreements and it will be a case-by-case basis of releasing games into the platforms. But when they actually acquired them, guess what? Redfall, which looks painfully generic, Starfield, otherwise known as No Man's Sky, but bland. I mean, those are exclusives. So you can only get them on PC or Xbox. I'm putting in my Xbox One. Anyway, the reason why I bring up Activision in this is that Activision and Blizzard, a wide majority of their players, especially when it comes to Call of Duty, are on PlayStation. A large majority of their player base is on PlayStation. And it has been said that there is still contractual obligations to have Call of Duty on PlayStation for a few more years. Should this deal go through and Activision and Blizzard get acquired by Xbox, Microsoft, this could mean that once those contractual agreements are over with, Call of Duty will become exclusive to Xbox and PC. And some people have said, well, PlayStation has had Call of Duty content exclusive on their platform for a whole year. That's not the same as acquiring a whole studio or a whole company. Alright? And another thing to keep in mind is, like I said, a large majority of Call of Duty players are on PlayStation. In fact, yeah, see, look at this. 42.1. But yeah, like, people tend to prefer PlayStation partially because of the fact that, yeah. And I get that this is just showing Warzone, but I'm talking about Call of Duty in general. But by eliminating people the opportunity to play Call of Duty on PlayStation after that contractual agreement for a couple of years ends, this means that they're cutting out a large majority of players from that game or from that franchise. The problem with that is, and I get that Microsoft could also go the same route with Mojang, where they could still have the games on other platforms, and that's probably what they're going to end up doing. But at the same time, I just don't know. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Now, what does this Activision acquisition thingamabob have anything to do with the PlayStation showcase being delayed? We were originally going to have a showcase a few days ago on the 20th. because of the Activision thing going on where, it's being investigated. What'll happen is there's something that's going to be happening on the 28th, I think. And I'm not just saying that because that's when Modern Warfare 2 comes out, which looks like a very good game. That it really does. But there's something else that's happening. I forgot what it was. But I feel like what Sony is doing is they're waiting until after that happens. Because if they were to have a showcase during this past week, then yeah, all eyes would have been on Sony and people would have been like, hey, wait a minute, why don't you go after them, CMA? Anyway, so PlayStation Experience, we already talked about that. Technically, there is something that could be done with PlayStation Home regarding the PlayStation Experience where they could have a virtual showcase room where you could watch the showcase in PlayStation Home. But other than that, the PlayStation Experience trademark has very little to do with PlayStation Home, aside from what I just talked about. Now, how about we go to the other trademark? Because this is where it gets a little interesting. The very same day that the PlayStation Experience trademark got its NOA, which is Notice of Allowance, that very same day, the Soho engine was fully trademarked and registered in the US. Tuesday the 18th. Now, I've talked about this before, but for those who aren't aware, you're probably wondering, what the hell is the Soho engine? And why is this important? So, the Soho engine is named after the PlayStation London studio, which is one of PlayStation's first parties. Sorry about that, it's just, I got a notification on my phone. I'll get on you after the stream, headset, don't worry. I have a VR headset over there. Anyway, yeah, so the Soho engine is so named. I'm not gonna make a Soho joke. It's just, that's literally named after where PlayStation London Studio is from. Soho, London. Now, you're probably wondering, well, wait, this is from London, isn't it? Then why is it being trademarked in the US? Well, what if I were to tell you that when PlayStation Home was out, it had various regional versions, it's kind of like how old video games, like on those old consoles like Super Nintendo and stuff, they would have different regional versions of a certain game. So, for example, there was I don't know. Trying to think of a good thing to compare it to. Oh, right. I think there was a Japanese game called Probotector or something. I don't know. Oh, yeah. The Code Monkeys? Wait, that was an unreleased game? Huh. Yeah, it is. Oh, unlicensed. Yeah, so... Oh wait, no, this isn't a good... Okay. I don't know why I was bringing up old video games when I should be talking about PlayStation Home. So, what I should be doing is showing you actual examples of what I mean. regarding PlayStation Home. Okay, that's not what I mean. Okay. I like how the top results is play at home, which Sony's not even doing this year because, in terms of, that thing, it's safer, but it's still very much a thing, but it's calmed down quite a bit to where, you still have to watch out, but you should be safe. Just still be careful. Anyway, yeah, here it is. So, 4 regional versions of PlayStation Home. Now, this is talking about the PS3 version. So there was the Asian, European, Japanese, and North American version of PlayStation Home. I, as someone who naturally lives in Texas and therefore the US, played the North American version. But basically, depending on which region you were from, unless you had a dedicated EU, JP, or any other kind of account that was related to a certain region that you were still playing within your very own region, you'd be able to technically bypass that regional lock, and you'd be able to check out the stuff from those regions within your very own. Bear in mind that this requires having multiple accounts, and as such, you're going to have to swap between them all. But for those who prefer just sticking with the bare bones regional version that you have, respectively. So for me, yeah. So because it was from North America, this space right here, the hub, was my central space. But yeah, so in terms of actual items that you could get, they were the same across all versions, but in terms of the different first-party spaces, those were different depending on which region you were from and which regional version you were playing. Now, why is that important, and how does that relate to the Soho engine? Well, as we've already established, the Soho engine is now fully registered within the US. The thing is, it's also been trademarked in numerous other territories such as Japan, parts of Europe, Mexico, and I forgot. Oh yeah, New Zealand. Wait, can I see these right now and see how they're doing? Oh, I can. Wait. It's not showing anything. Okay. New Zealand? No. Weird. Yeah. So I'm trying to find it. And just to show this off, there hasn't been anything new with the main trademark from its own respective territory, to my knowledge. Yeah, because it's been like this since June last year, so it's been over a year at this point. Actually, on the subject of EUIPO, I should probably show you all what's new with the PlayStation Home trademarks. There's 3 of them you gotta remember. There's this one, which is the main one, so it just has the name of the service, there's no associated images, but you don't really need that. This was recently updated in September, almost a year after this. Now, I have my own little theory about why that tends to happen, where it's like information to proprietors of earlier trademarks and registrations and stuff. I feel like what it is it's basically PlayStation London Studio letting the EUIPO know that, hey, we're still working on this, but more than we're more than glad to show you what it looks like so far, when we'll have it ready, all that stuff. Reason why I bring this up is that sometimes it'll be several months until it does that again. Other times it'll happen like a month after another thing. But yeah. Now this one right here, this is interesting. This has remained this way for about 3 years, which is interesting. Yeah. Okay. Come on. Come on. Okay. It does that. It has nothing to do with my internet. So this one was actually updated more recently. So the main trademark was updated back last month on the 19th. When was this updated, huh? Well, 10 days ago. Now, I say this again just to reiterate on my own personal theory about this. I could be completely wrong about this. In fact, I could be completely wrong with the theory that PlayStation Home is coming back, like a lot of other people have been theorizing that happen to be big fans of PlayStation Home. They possibly could be bringing it back. There's a lot of evidence riding on this, alongside the fact that the hardware we have now, the PS5, is more than capable of letting Home reach its full potential without any compromises. But this could also just be them protecting the trademark. But if this was them protecting the trademark, then why didn't they just stop at renewing the trademark and extending it? Why is it still getting continuously checked on and updated every once in a while? Like I said earlier, it's very possible that these right here, these information proprietor things, could very well be related to the EUIPO checking in on the team, getting a progress report on what they're working on. And it seems to me like that very much would be the case, because if you think about it, Soho Engine got, the trademark registered in the US, and I'm pretty sure it's been registered in those other territories. It makes absolute sense when you really think about it. But there's a lot more to it than just that. Also, what? What kind of a theory is that? The most compelling theory, as pointed out by Game Rant, is that Soho Engine may be a work-in-progress title for Spider-Man 2. Considering that Soho is a real-life neighborhood in... What do you mean, compelling theory? Did you not see where the trademark is from? It's from Europe. is from literally London. You know, where another Soho exists. Hmm. Yeah, these guys aren't really good at journalism. I just wanted to show that off. Uh, VG shorts? Okay, wait. Hmm? Okay. And I've already checked this, and it doesn't show anything. It just, yeah. Canada? No. But I can only assume that by now the trademark has been fully registered within those different territories. It makes sense. Okay. Okay. So accepted. Yeah. So accepted means that it's fully registered in that territory. Uh, Active. Okay. So it is so weird though how I'm checking these and oh, pending. Okay. Uh, okay. I can only assume that it is ready now, but I don't know. Okay, what about Canada? Formalized. Does it show the trademark formalized? Okay. So I think that means that it's registered. But what about? Okay. I can only assume that it was in fact registered within those different territories. I could be wrong, but I'd like to assume that. Oh, hello. Um, is this an actual. Oh. Yeah, so I can't see the Japanese one, but again, I can assume that it was registered in Japan. But the main thing I'm going to bring up is Soho Engine. Why is this important and how does it relate to PlayStation Home exactly? Well, if you remember, I did mention that PlayStation Home did have regional versions. So, Europe, Japan, America, Asia, which the Asian part is just related to China and other parts. So, it's not related to Japan. Japan is its own thing. Sorry about that. I'm not even tired. Yeah, so that's the reason why I'm bringing up the Soho engine, is that, for one, to my knowledge and from my understanding and my own judgment, violin. Maybe. Also, I like how people are just assuming that, hey, PlayStation Home might be coming back for PSVR 2. The thing is, though, as cool as that would be, you have to understand that not everyone will be interested in VR. I'm not saying VR is terrible, because I was talking about a VR headset earlier. I have a Quest 2. Actually, it's kind of funny that I mentioned that, because on Tuesday it'll be 10 whole months since I've had it. What? No, Monday. Because tomorrow's the 23rd, and Monday will be the 24th. Okay, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Yeah, so. Anyway, but because of the fact that VR isn't exactly for everyone, I'm not saying VR is bad. VR is very fun. It can be a little overwhelming at first when you're new to it, but as you get into it more and more and more, you start to get used to it. You know, it's one of those things where at first when you try it out, you're a little unsure about it, and then when you actually do try it out, you're just like, that wasn't so bad. So you do it more and more and more to get a better feel for it. So while I do think that a PlayStation Home VR version would be kind of cool, here's the thing I hope they don't do. I hope they don't make it exclusive to VR, because that would suck. Now, at the very least, they could have some things locked behind VR, like maybe they could have a VR version of PlayStation Home while the standard console edition could still be a thing. Or maybe it won't be for VR and it could just be for the PS5, which I think would be the much better route, because you don't have to worry about forking out several $100s to get a VR headset and, you know, get that VR headset just from one game. Alright? Because you get a PS5 because of the games. Getting a PSVR 2, you're getting it for the games, but yeah. Also, another reason why I think that a VR version probably won't be the best idea is mainly due to the fact that people in VR could possibly have a advantage over you. Like, say home is for console and VR, and you could meet up with people together. You know, console players could meet up with PSVR 2 players, and you're playing a minigame that involves shooting. The VR player would have a distinct advantage because they could peer around corners, you know, peering out from around the corner, shoot their gun, and you wouldn't be able to do that because you're playing on controller. So, again, while VR does sound enticing, I feel like they probably wouldn't be doing that, because I feel like people would be very upset if they found out that, hey, we're bringing back PlayStation Home, but in order to play it, you're going to have to buy this VR headset instead of us just putting it on PS5. But yeah. Now, another thing I would like to mention, and this is more recent, that doesn't have to do with trademarks. PlayStation Stars is out. Now, granted, it's only on the app for now, like the PlayStation app on your phone. But they have said that in the future, PlayStation Stars will be getting console integration, which is, of course, a good thing. Oh, what the? my gosh. Game rant. Yes! I was just about to talk about this. Thank you. The new loyalty program, PlayStation Stars, boasts an array of rewards, many of which would be perfect for a display in a reboot of PlayStation Home. Here's the thing. Grace Chen from PlayStation has been at PlayStation for a very long time. She wasn't there just recently. She's been working there since the PS3 days, actually, or maybe even before that. Why is that important, though? Because she knows about PlayStation Home, and it's very possible that Sony had that idea that they were going to bring back PlayStation Home sometime after the PS5 has been out. Because, for one, they wanted to make sure the console base would have a decent amount of players already. And at this point, I'm going to search this up right now. How many PS5s have been sold? That's the big ticket question. The answer is... I'm looking for a more recent answer. Yeah, so... And this is just in June, so it's possible that the PS5 has sold at least 30 million units or so by now. Because this is from a few months ago. So obviously, by now it's probably been at least 30 million units. The reason why I bring this up is because, for one, as much as Sony would have loved to have PlayStation Home out with the PS5, for one, it was likely not ready yet because, we were still struggling through a pandemic, and although things have improved slowly last year, and things have definitely improved this year now that things are kind of normal aside from a certain invasion. I'm talking about the Russia attack in Ukraine, which I sympathize with those people. I hope those people get through this okay. I'm not saying I'm sympathizing like, oh, I've been through that. I mean that I really, really hope that this situation that's going on there will de-escalate and stop. Because those are good, honest people. Those are good, innocent people who now have to put their lives on the line every single day. And hell, there's game developers there as well who have been hoping to show their games off, but they can't because of what's going on. But I digress. Getting back to the subject at hand. With the world now being normal aside from what I just talked about, well, let's just say that, game development is now back up in pace. People are back in the office and all that stuff. But what does this have to do with PlayStation Home's reboot? For one, you have to figure that the PS5, like I said before, has at this point very likely sold at least 30 million units worldwide as of right now. Although they are kind of hard to come by, they are steadily getting easier to get. Although I'd imagine the holidays are going to be a different story, but Anyway, another thing is, it's possible that Sony had this idea for PlayStation Stars for quite a long time now, like for the past year or two. But they wanted to wait until around this time of year because they had the idea that when PlayStation Home does come back, it'll be alongside the console integration they said that they were going to do. Because, again, it would make perfect sense. Also, I like how they say it was for PS consoles. It was only on PS3. But, yeah. Yeah, so Game Rant has the right idea with this. And numerous other publication groups have also said the same thing. But it makes perfect sense that PlayStation stars would inevitably usher in a reboot of PlayStation Home. It makes absolute sense because of the collectible things that you could get. I should say that these are not NFTs, the collectibles. They are 3D digital representations of new things, all that stuff. Yeah, so. Anyway, so you're probably wondering, so with all that being said, when do you expect PlayStation Home to actually come back? Well, who can tell? Because we had the Soho Engine trademark. Yeah, it's been likely registered everywhere at this point. Because the thing is, the trademark, to my knowledge, was registered, or not registered, but it was filed around the world around the same time as each other for like each different territory it was filed in. So it's very much possible that they could have that. Anyway, um, yeah. But I have to say though, also I like how people are. So this was from July when they first announced the thing. People are like, these sound an awful lot like NFTs, unless these are collectibles I can place in a new thing. They had that idea, but they haven't announced that yet. And the thing is, yeah, so, um, I should say I'm actually a member of Stars, but they have said that PlayStation Stars itself will come to consoles in the future. Also, so this new DualSense right here, the DualSense Edge, people are upset because it's $200. And think about it like this. that controller is to PlayStation what the Elite controller is to Xbox. It has the same kind of price, the same kind of functionality, all that other stuff, and people are like, it's expensive. It's like half the price of a PS5. Do you know why? Now, granted, the normal DualSense is like far cheaper because it's like $70, but at the same time, well, you know, that's just how it is. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. So this was from about a month ago. Yeah, so PlayStation Stars itself is only on the app for now, but they do have plans to expand to consoles in the future. What I think it's gonna do is that for the PS4 version of PlayStation Stars is just gonna be, it's essentially gonna be a carbon copy of the PlayStation app on the phone. But for the PS5, considering the fact that PlayStation Home, should it be coming back, will be on PS5, I feel like what they're going to do for PlayStation Stars exclusively on PS5 is letting you decorate your personal space with, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so, I will say this, whatever Sony is cooking, because, you know, again, there's the possibility of the PlayStation experience, because the trademark is currently NOA, meaning notice of allowance, meaning that Sony could do the showcase if they want to. It's up to them when they want to. Likely in December. Because the thing is, that's been traditionally when they do their showcase for the PlayStation experience is in December. And it's probably going to be the 15th. Probably. Actually, I find that kind of funny because of the fact that, so this year is actually the 14th anniversary of when PlayStation came out. Because it came out December 11th of 2008. So this year is its 14th anniversary. But more importantly for me specifically, well, actually not me, but it was a day that had a lot of significance, both negatively and positively. December 14th. You might be familiar with that day if, just like me, you're from the US. That was the day of the Sandy Hook shooting, which rattled America. And I distinctly remember that day because I just gotten home from school, 2012, actually. If I go to this, yes. I had gotten home early because it was a half day, and my Pama was in the kitchen, or not the kitchen, it was the dining area of the kitchen, watching the TV, and the reason why was because there was a shooting, and I had just heard about it at that moment. And, well, it was honestly pretty sad, very disturbing. But that wasn't the only thing that happened that day. As to take my mind off that event, even though it was still very much hard to think about because it was just terrifying to think about. It was also a day of significance for me. You're probably wondering, well, wait, how is it a good day for you, but not a good day for those people? I'm not trying to make this about me, but it was just purely coincidental. But believe it or not, that day did have a bit of positive significance. At least for me. The reason being is because on December 14th of 2012, Drago Star 534. That's me. So if you've ever played on PSN at any given moment, ever seen me in GTA Online or anything like that, and you happen to see this name, that's me. I know the name may not have the same kind of brevity as some kind of fancy username with a big story behind it. But for me, the story is just, it was a name I came up with off of a whim. But the major importance of that username and that day in general was because that was the day I joined PlayStation Network. 10 years ago, on that day, was when I joined PlayStation Network. And on that same day, right as I made that account, the very first thing I tried out was PlayStation Home. Just something about it drew me in. I got curious about it, said I needed to make an account. I had a Gmail, which I unfortunately can't access that Gmail now because of something I completely forgot about, but all I know is I can't access it. I think it was just someone who wanted to do game share, and I remembered thinking that it was a fake thing that people would try and fake people into doing. I later found out that actually is a real thing, but I either couldn't remember my password or something like that. But yeah. So on that day, I tried PlayStation Home. And it introduced me to online gaming on a console. But as for why I chose the name Dragostar 534, like I said, it was just a random name I came up with. There was no big story behind it. It wasn't that, oh, I really like dragons and I really like stars and my favorite number is 534. No. It was just a name I came up with randomly. It wasn't a randomly generated name. It was just a name I came up with because it was just off the top of my head. And at first, people kind of made fun of me for it. People were like, what kind of a name is that? But over time, as I played on PSN more and more, it made me realize that this community of gamers was sort of like a second family. I've made many friends over these past several years. And let's just say that should PlayStation Home be coming back, especially this year, I do have something planned for the 14th of December this year. I can't say what it is, but I will say this. It wasn't exactly a special day 10 years ago, but at the same time, in my own imagination, considering the fact that when I was doing that, I just wanted to have some time alone. I just wanted to relax, de-stress from what I had just heard on the news. And this was exactly the kind of stress relief I needed because I had just gotten home from high school and I wanted to just relax. And from that day forward, Dragostar 534 became who I am. It shaped me. It made me into the big PlayStation fan that I am today. And although I have grown to like other platforms, I grew up with Nintendo as a kid, and then I migrated over to PlayStation and I dabbled a bit into Xbox, and I do PC stuff, but I will always be predominantly a PlayStation gamer. I know Sony's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But what I will say is PlayStation always have a special place on my heart because of that very day. Because if it wasn't for me being curious about PlayStation Home, I wouldn't be talking about this stuff. I wouldn't be interested in PlayStation nearly as much as I am now. So it's because of PlayStation Home and because of this that I am the big PlayStation fan that I am now. So to all the friends that I've made on PlayStation Network, thank you very much for sticking by me. Thank you very much. And inevitably, when PlayStation Home does end up coming back on PS5 or whatever it comes out on, I'll be there. And I will be damn sure to live stream it the day that it comes out. Hell, it might even come back this year. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if it comes out this November. But I know for a fact that it probably won't. It's up to Sony when they want to announce and release it. They could do it by complete surprise. Hell, it might even be out right now. But it's not. But the main thing I wanted to say is the thing that always will have a special place in my heart aside from PlayStation itself would be PlayStation Home. Because it truly did feel like a second home. So Sony, I know you probably won't see this, but if you do happen to come across my stream, know this. Thank you for making me a fan from the very day I first picked up a PlayStation controller and played games. I forgot what games I played when I was little. But it was from that moment I fell in love with PlayStation. But growing up, I didn't have a PlayStation of my own until I got a PSP, then I got a PS2, and then a PS3, then a PS4 back in 2014. And then 6 years after that PS4 was the very first PlayStation console I bought with my own money, and the very first console I ever bought with my own money. Like, brand new. That's right, that PS5 that I'm pointing at right now, I bought that with my own money. I saved up all throughout 2020, well, starting in the summer. And through thick and thin, despite all the bad and the good, I got through it. Was it fun? No. Lost a family member back in August that year. Sure was painful, but at the same time, nothing could stop me from reaching my goal. Even when I doubted it. Even when I doubted the possibility of getting one of those. Because trust me, I was not able to reach the pre-orders in time. But that one faithful day, that one fateful day, November 12th, 2020. I will never forget the moment a little after 5 p.m. when I checked on Amazon and it was available, and I ordered right then and there. No hesitation, no second guessing. I did it. Got it a few days later. Nothing was ever the same. But my point being, ever since I became a huge fan of PlayStation, it's basically like a religion. I mean, it's not a religion to me. I'm a Christian, but if gaming were a religion, like if a gaming platform had a religion, I'd be a PlayStation fanatic. Yeah, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not ashamed to admit I'm a bit of a Sony pony, but I do have respect and a likeness to other platforms like PC, Xbox, and Nintendo, although Xbox, I like it, but at the same time, they're starting to rely too much on Game Pass and acquiring companies left and right because we're the biggest company in the world, bruh. Although I still like Xbox, because if it wasn't for their Game Pass thing, I wouldn't know about Hypnospace. This little game right here. I have it on PlayStation. It's a good game. Anyway, with that being said, I think that'll about cover everything I wanted to talk about. I hope you've enjoyed this. Sorry for rambling on too much. I hope you've enjoyed this regardless. If you did, then like, comment, subscribe if you'd like. You don't have to do any of that, but that's certainly appreciated if you do. With that being said, thank you very much for sticking around. And stay tuned for Monday for another Radical Rewind of horrifying tales from North Richfield, but not from our usual host. From someone else. Someone related to our usual host. It's something that's out of this world. Might know what I'm talking about. Some extraterrestrial excitement. Don't worry, it's rated PG. 13. Anyway, with that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.